Welcome to episode number 62 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with Boise State reporter, men's basketball reporter Ron Counts, talking Boise State basketball. Um, and thank you for taking the time to come on.
Of course. Thanks
And,
for having me on.
and I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on how this Boise State team is doing.
You know what? They're a strong team this year. I mean, they're a new squad. You know, they brought in a couple of really high impact transfers this year, and Omar Stanley from St. John's, Roddy Anderson III. He's their point guard this year, and so they're a strong team, and they got to be strong this year because the Mountain West is just ridiculous this year. You know, you got 6 teams that are getting votes in the AP poll, so it's a really kind of a killer of a conference this year. But what's really helping Boise State right now get through these tough games is a tough early season stretch. They played some really good teams early on. They went to the East Coast and they played Virginia Tech. They played Clemson. They played Butler. They've played North Texas. They've played St. Mary's. All top 100 teams in KenPom rankings. All teams that really gave them a run for their money. They learned a lot. They learned how to overcome adversity, and that's really paying dividends right now. We saw it in their conference opener against San Jose State. They had to come back in the second half to win that game. They did that. They went on to beat Colorado State in what is their most premier signature win of the season. So I think those early season tests have really helped them out. Here in the last several weeks, their post game has really come on strong. Specifically, Omar Stanley has really come on strong. He's averaging almost 14 points a game in their last 9 games. He had a 30-point game recently. He's got 2 double-doubles. He's really settling into his role at Boise State. When he was at St. John's, he did a little bit of everything. He was in the post. He was on the wing. He was shooting. Here at Boise State, he's really focusing on the post, and he's playing aggressive. He's playing confident. He's attacking the rack. He's hitting the glass hard. He's defending. So he's really been a catalyst for them in the last few weeks, I believe. And as you look at some of their returning starters, Chibuzo Agbo is a guy that's really come on this year. He's essentially the star of their roster this year. He transferred in from Texas Tech last year. He's really a lot like Stanley. He's gotten more comfortable in his role. He's gotten more comfortable with Leon and the coaching staff, and he's playing free, man. I mean, there's nowhere on the court where that kid won't take a shot and won't hit a shot right now. He's shooting lights out. He scored in double digits, I think, in 11 straight games now. He defends. He rebounds. He's really going to be good for them down the stretch. He's a guy that's going to have to be strong for them come tournament time for them to make a deep run in the tournament. Then, of course, you've got Tyson Degenart. You know, he's kind of the leader, the emotional barometer of this team, if you will. You know, he's a 2-time All-Mountain West pick. And again, Tyson is a guy that when you look at him, you maybe don't think high-end basketball player. He's not chiseled, you know, he's kind of pudgy, you know, he's not overly athletic, but he does everything so well. His technique is so sound. His feet are always in the right place. He's amazing on defense, and he's tough, man. That kid, just this past game, he fought through so many double teams. He attacked the rack. He does a great job scoring, a great job dishing out assists. So he's really the as I said, the emotional barometer of this roster right now. When you look at this Boise State roster, or of this Boise State team, excuse me, there's 2 areas where they've got to still clean things up. The big area is their depth. They're getting next to nothing from their bench. In their previous game against UNLV, they got just 2 points off the bench. In 4 Mountain West games in the past 2 weeks, they've scored a total of 15 points off the bench. 11 of those came against Colorado State. So their depth is just not there right now. They're playing their starters more minutes than any other team in the conference, and that's not sustainable for any team. You got to have that 6th and 7th guy that can come off the bench and really provide a spark and really give you a lot of energy. So they've got to figure that out. They've got some options there. An interesting one is Cam Martin. He transferred in from Kansas this year. He's actually a 7th-year senior. He's a big post presence, but he's dealing with an injury right now. He's got a shoulder injury. He's kind of rusty. You know, we saw it against UNLV. He came in, hit an early shot, but then he coughed up a costly turnover. He gave up a couple easy baskets on defense, and then he only played for 4 minutes in the second half. So he's got to really get his feet under him and get rolling. And then needs some other young guys to really step up off that bench. Andrew Meadow is a freshman that's had some good moments. He had 13 points against Colorado State, you know, really promising kid. Kobe Young is an athletic wing that can really shoot, can really stress the floor a little bit. And RJ King is a sneaky good shooter. He's got to come off the bench and really shoot. So they got to find a way to get some production off that bench. And then the other issue Boise is facing right now is their point guard play. So as I mentioned, Rodney Anderson III is new this year. They also have Jace Whiting, who came off the bench some last year, but Roddy is just really kind of settling into his role and figuring out how to run this offense. As you know, for a point guard, it's not about scoring. It's about making everybody else around you better. It's about dishing out those assists. It's about controlling the tempo on defense. It's about playing hard on defense.
Hmm.
And Anderson plays hard. He really, really does. He's just kind of finding himself right now. He played in a very different scheme at his previous school. So I just think that he's really got to find a way to settle in. And he's had some great games. Against Colorado State, he dished out 8 assists. That was a season high. The last couple games, he's really attacked the rack well. He had 12 points against UNLV, and he just really he drove. He was aggressive. So he's a guy that when he settles in and really accepts his role, this offense will run a lot more smoothly.
Hmm. Um, I see Boise State has a gauntlet of games this upcoming couple of weeks. And what are your thoughts on having to play San Diego State and then 16 ranked Utah State and then New Mexico?
Yeah, and you add to that, they already played and beat Nevada. They
Hmm.
played and beat Colorado State already. So as I mentioned earlier, the Mountain West this year is just a monster of a league. You got Colorado State, Utah State, New Mexico, Nevada, UNLV, Boise State. All these programs are kind of flirting with that top 25, and so they're all just kind of beating up on each other. And so yeah, Leon Rice has said it a couple of times. There's no off days in conference play. They got to be at their best every game to even have a chance to win.
Hmm.
And you look at what happened against UNLV on Tuesday. Boise State wasn't themselves in that game. In the previous month, they've dominated the boards, especially offensively. There was a couple games where they limited their opponents to just 2 offensive rebounds in the entire game. They gave up, I believe, 11 against UNLV. That was uncharacteristic of them, and so they've got to clean that up, especially against a team like San Diego State. San Diego State has some dudes in the post. They can play. They're going to rebound. They're going to bang. They're going to be physical. So Boise State's got to find a way to contend with that. And then also against UNLV, they struggled at the free throw line, which really has been uncharacteristic of them. When they beat Nevada, they went 9 for 10 from the free throw line down the stretch to win that game. The other night, they missed 3 late free throws that really killed them. 2 of them were on the front end of one-on-ones, but all 3 of those shots would have made it a 1-possession game, and they just couldn't hit those shots. So they got to figure out how to clean up the little things, and they got to be at their best every night.
Hmm. What is your prediction of the rest of the season for them, and how far do you think they can make it in the tournament?
I definitely see another 20-win season coming. Of course, they're 12-5 already. They're going to hit that 20-win mark, and I think they have a shot, man. They have a shot to go all the way and play for a Mountain West tournament title. I believe. They have the guys to do it. They have the coaching staff. They have the foundation on the roster. They play solid defense. They've just got to figure out that depth issue. They got to figure out their point guard play, and they have a shot. And look, this is a team that's really, really hungry. This is a team that's never won an NCAA tournament game. They're 0-9 in program history, so they're focused this year. They are hungry to get out of that Mountain West tournament and win one of those games on the big stage.
What are your thoughts on the conference as a whole?
It's really, really good this year. There are so many good players. I mean, it's one of those. This is one of those years where I think the conference champion is going to have 4 or 5 losses because the rest of the conference is just so good. You look at teams like Nevada that run the floor really, really well, and they got their leading scorer Blackshear can just hit shots from anywhere. San Diego State is a perennial powerhouse in this league. They got dudes. They probably have some of the best post players in the conference. And then you look at these other teams. New Mexico is they're just killing people right now. They run the floor really, really well. They probably run the floor as well as Nevada, and they have some better shooters. So I think they're really dangerous. UNLV is really dangerous. So I just think this conference is really, really good this year. I see this conference having at least 4, if not 5, tournament seeds.
Hmm. Uh, so what do you think about their upcoming game, and what is your prediction of what will happen?
Against San Diego State.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that's going to be a really, really tough game, and it's going to be a prove-it game for Omar Stanley. I mentioned, he's really come into his own. He's become Boise State's a dominant post presence, and this is the team that has the best post players in the conference. He's got to get in there. He's got to bang. He's got to be physical. He's got to produce in the paint. And what he's got to do is learn from Tuesday's loss against to UNLV. Because what UNLV did is they doubled Omar every time he touched the ball, and that really threw him off. He tried to power his way through the double team instead of relying on his technique. So he's just got to slow down a little bit. He's got to think. He's got to rely on his technique, and he's got to find a way to win, even if there's a double team. I think that's number one. And then number two, again, I'm going to go back to that depth. You're not going to beat a team like San Diego State without getting something from your bench. You can't get 2 points off the bench and think you're going to beat San Diego State. It's just not going to happen. So they've got to have a young guy step up and play a role there. And I'll keep an eye on Andrew Meadow. Andrew Meadows is an interesting cat. You just look at a photo of him. Got the long hair. He wears the goggles, but he's a tough dude for a freshman. He's physically strong. He's confident. He plays pretty fast. But that confidence is what really stands out about him. He's a guy that will take shots like nobody's business. Against Colorado State, he hit 2 huge three-pointers in the second half that really helped them pull away and win that game. So if he can come off the bench and give them a solid, 9-10 minutes and maybe give them 8-9 points a game, that's huge for this team.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for taking the time to come on and talk Boise State basketball, and I'll definitely have you back on once the conference tournament comes around.
I'm happy to do it, Alex. Thanks. Call me anytime.
Thank you.
Take care.